Bună ziua și bine v-am găsit la o nouă ediție a emisiunii Dezbaterea Zilei. O ediție specială, întrucât astăzi avem un invitat special. Prin urmare, îl salut pe domnul Rami Teplitskiy, vice-ambasador al statului Israel în România. Welcome to our studio, Mr. Deputy Ambassador.
Mulțumesc, thank you so much.
Fac mențiunea că vom purta acest dialog în limba engleză, aceasta pentru a putea parcurge cât mai multe subiecte, prezența unui translator, diminuând mult din timpul alocat dezbaterii de astăzi. I said in your presentation that you were appointed to this position last autumn. Previously you were deputy head of mission at the Embassy of the State of Israel in Romania, and until 2022 you worked at the Israeli Embassy in Russia, where you held the position of press attaché and secretary. It's a fair presentation, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How would you describe these two periods? Where it's harder, in Romania or in Russia?
This is a very big question. I arrived to Russia when we had COVID, and from there I was about a year before the full-scale war in Ukraine, and about a year and a half after the full-scale war in Ukraine started. So it was a very, very complex time. I arrived here last autumn, as you said, and I arrived a month before October 7th. So I can say, work-wise, perhaps being in our embassy in Moscow is very complicated, but on a personal...
Why?
It's complicated because it is a very unique country with unique problems, and also because the war in Ukraine created new issues for Europe and the entire world, and it was on one hand as diplomat interesting to be there. On the other hand, I can say that it is a complex time for many actors in the world. But on a personal level, I cannot compare what my feelings happened and how they were on October 7th. And I was here in Romania when October 7th happened 1 year ago, 1 year and 2 months ago. And for Israeli, it doesn't matter where you are. You are a deputy ambassador in Romania or deputy ambassador in Moscow.
Another
or
country,
any country is the same. It is the feeling, the shock, and everything that came after has changed our life. And I don't think even people understand how much our own personal lives were affected.
We'll talk about this
of course,
a little bit later. I propose to take today's discussion on 3 levels. The first would be the bilateral relation between Israel and Romania. How would you describe the evolution of relation between these two countries in the recent year? What are the main areas of cooperation between Israel and Romania? What bilateral projects are underway or planned for near future?
So I will start with the history. Romania is the only country in the communist bloc that didn't stop diplomatic relations with Israel. So after a 6-day war, all the countries of the communist bloc stopped relations with Israel. The only country that didn't do it was Romania. It doesn't matter what was the reasons. Not all of the reasons were for good reasons, but it is something that is very unique that we had an ambassador here even in the hardest times of communism. And we are much more aware of what was happening, also with the Jewish community here. This relationship, of course, transformed incredibly when the revolution happened, and we finally received Romania as a part of the democratic world. And I think since then, every year, we got relationship warmer and warmer. We can see it on every aspect. We can see it from economic aspects of investment. We know Israeli companies started investing already in the 90s here, but stronger and stronger after the entrance to the European Union. Of course, people feel safer when you invest in a European Union country. We see Israeli companies opening factories in Romania. This is something not everyone understands. This is something that Israel is doing here that not necessarily other countries do. We open factories and businesses that employ not only the low-skilled workers, but from the low skill to the high skill of engineers and lawyers and accountants.
We may say that Romania is another country for most of the Jewish.
I think for Israelis and Jewish people, Romania is part of our history. I'll tell you more. We think that hundreds of thousands of Israelis have Romanian descent, maybe even 1 million. Nobody knows, because people have like one grandma from Yash, another grandma from Ukraine, another grandma from Iraq, Jewish people, another grandma from Morocco. So what are you? Yeah, so grandpa and grandmas. So, but a lot of people have a connection, direct connection to Romania. A lot of the older generation speak Romanian. Younger generation nowadays, most people speak English as a second language and not other languages they knew from their homes. It can be whatever languages they came with. The importance of Romania to Israeli culture, it's phenomenal, because people in Israel don't even know, but many jokes in Hebrew are a copy of a Romanian joke. I can tell you myself, I didn't know this. And when I said to my friends, I'm going my next mission to Bucharest,
it will be in Romania?
Everyone told me, but I'm a Romanian.
Oh,
I'm Romanian.
already.
All my friends. I said, where were you? Because so many things were intertwined, and I think that's why many bilateral relations here are based on people to people. We diplomats many times like to think the governments meet each other, make agreements, and everything is nice. But the real connection is not in that. It's between people. And I think our relationship is excellent. And it's very developing with years. I think now we are really we are starting a next stage of the relationship, where we can do projects together, grand projects together. It can be in cultural aspect, it can be in economic, it can be in diplomatic, it can be in policy, all these things together.
This is the second question. How the geopolitical situation in the region influenced diplomatic relations between Israel and Romania? I ask you this in reference to what is happening in Ukraine, but especially from the perspective of situation in Near East. Or to ask you in another way, how do you see the strategic partnership between Israel and Romania in the context of regional security challenges?
After the 7th of October, the first prime minister to visit Israel, the first head of state, was the Romanian head of state, the Romanian prime minister. And since then, he visited again in just last September. We had the Minister of Foreign Affairs visiting Israel. We had the Minister of Defense visiting Israel. After the 7th of October, I was with the delegation of the President of the Chamber of Deputies, together with the leaders of the big parties, that we together visited Israel in November. Exactly 1 year ago, we visited Kfar Aza, where the massacre happened. I'm telling you, I saw the people. I saw your heads of your major parties. They felt what I feel inside my heart. They felt this crushing feeling when you smell in the houses, you smell the smell of death. This is something that terrible. You cannot understand this until you see it with your own eyes. They were brave to come in a time that was still not fully safe, and to be there with us. And I think Israel appreciates this hugely. We discover who are our friends in times of crisis. When everything is nice, everything is nice. But when
a friend in need is a friend indeed.
Exactly.
Yes.
So Romania has been discovered as a friend indeed, as a friend that is with us and holds our hand even in one of our darkest moments.
Let's talk about the situation near East and foreign policy. How does Israel perceive the current tension in the Near East, and what steps does it consider necessary for regional stability? What is Israel's position on the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, and what solution do you think would be viable in the long term?
I'll tell you. On the 6th of October, a year and 2 months ago, there was ceasefire between Israel and Gaza. On the 7th of October, they invaded Israel. They came and murdered babies, burned babies alive. They raped women, and they kidnapped our own people and they are still holding them hostage. 101 Israelis are in Gaza, held hostage, and we know from what tell us the hostages that were released, the conditions are horrific. And only a month ago we had 6 hostages that were found dead. Their weight was 35 kilograms. That means they starved them to death.
Yes.
This is the situation. So we didn't want this war, but on the 7th of October we found ourselves in a need to defend ourselves from, I don't want to say animals. Animals, they have some internal moral code. Here, there's no moral code.
Right.
They were happy to murder and rape. This is the behavior of monsters. And we found ourselves in the war. This war was not only in Gaza. Immediately, Iran sent their other hands. They had a hand in Hezbollah in Lebanon. They started immediately rockets on Israel. We had to evacuate tens of thousands of Israelis from the north. We had to evacuate all the people that lived on the border with Gaza. And then we have Houthis in Yemen that started also missiles. All of them are Iranian missiles and Iranian technology, and they all are puppets of Iran. We have Shiite militias in Iraq doing the same. We found ourselves in war with all these different actors. Eventually, Iran itself showed its real face and attacked Israel twice, and we had to defend ourselves. And unfortunately, we're still defending ourselves. We have only 2 main missions for Gaza. One, we understood that we cannot live with Hamas. Hamas is an extremist ideology. It's not like ISIS. It's worse than ISIS.
It's worse, yes.
And we have to see that we will not continue living side by side. We will try to live side by side. From 2005, not even one Israeli was in Gaza. Not a soldier, not a civilian, nobody. But we see that they've dedicated those 2 decades to build an infrastructure that their whole idea is not to build Gaza, but to destroy Israel. They could have been a second Singapore, but instead they become what they are now, a source of evil. So our first mission is to make Hamas not have these capabilities. We cannot live side by side. So we have to be in Gaza until we finish the job by eradicating Hamas' ability to hurt us. The second is to return our hostages. By the way, I'm saying first and second, but it's the same level, just we don't have a language for this. On the same level, A and B. To return our hostages. We will return our hostages. We will do it either by force or by negotiation, but those people will come back home. Some will come back to be buried in Israel. In Judaism, like in Christianity, you bury your dead. You don't leave them.
Yes.
And those who are alive, we will make anything to return them.
But do you think that the Trump administration will bring about a change in its approach to the Palestinian issue?
Look, we many times like to speculate this approach, that approach. I have to say that unlike what's many times seen on the media, we have very good relations both with the Democratic Party and the Republican Party.
Yes.
I think in the core of it, most Americans, in every survey you can say, support Israel. They can be Republican, they can be Democrat, they can be whatever they want. They support Israel. We have fringes. We hear the fringes a lot. We see them in this, the universities. The fringes are very loud. Majority of people, they are common sense people. They understand that Israel is defending Western values in the Middle East. This is not only some internal fight.
I understand.
And with the current administration, we saw there are a few new appointments for Minister of Defense, the ambassador to the UN, and some other that have spoken out loudly for Israel. Of course, we are extremely happy to hear that, but I have to say, most of our partners in America always been very supportive. We can have disagreements, like any friend can have disagreements, but always America in the last few decades have been with us, no matter what kind of government they had there.
I understand. We will not conclude this dialogue without referring to the fact that there is a close relationship between the city of Iași and cities in Israel. As you know, Iași is twinned with Haifa and Ashdod, and in 2022, Mayor Mihai Chirica paid a visit to Israel, on which occasion he signed the twinning with Netanya. How would you describe these twinnings?
I'll start with Iași. Iași is not just any city for Israelis and for the Jewish people. At some point, 50% of the population of Iași was Jewish. Unfortunately, also the horrific history also happened here with the Iron Guard and with the what resulted in the Holocaust of the Jews in Iași. Many Israelis see Iași as almost a home. That's why I think this amazing job that your mayor has done, and the prefect, and other people, and also people from your government that are in charge of this region, they understood that there's a connection, an historical connection between Moldova, between Iași and Israel. I'm extremely happy about these twin cities. I think this is only just the beginning, that many cultural exchanges, many work together. I've discussed today with the mayor. We see that our main core values are together, and from there you can build. And I've seen that he's done many things, both together with the Jewish community here, hand by hand, and also with Israeli leaders. Cities like Netanya, Haifa, Ashdod are major, important cities in Israel. I don't know how many Romanians live there, but if you combine them, we are talking about many. And I'm sure that this cooperation can continue. Not only continue, I hope there will be more twin cities. I hope within the twin cities we will see exchange of them coming here, and people from Iași are coming to Israel. And the most important thing is the soul, you know. We say in Hebrew, nefesh. Our soul, our nefesh, is together with the people of Iași.
I understand. In the end, I would challenge you to answer my question. What do you want Santa Claus to bring you?
Oh, you know, as a Jew, we don't have Santa Claus.
Oh,
but
we have Santa Claus.
Yes, I know you have Santa Claus. I think, in a little bit more serious note, what we need today is peace and security.
Peace and security. Mr. Rami, we have reached the end. Thank you for your presence in the show, for your answer. I can only wish you peace of mind and prosperity, and of course, peace to all the Israeli people. Thanks again for your presence. And let me make a wish in another language, Sof Tov Shela Sheda.
Ah, very nice. Shalom, shalom.
Aceasta a fost dezbaterea noastră de astăzi. Vă invit să rămâneți alături de noi și să urmăriți emisiunile pe care postul nostru vi l-a pregătit, pentru că nu e așa, un om, un eșan informat este doar acela care se uită la Iași TV Live. Aceasta a fost dezbaterea de astăzi. Până la următoarea întâlnire vă doresc cele bune.